Joseph turns on an old tape recorder in the attic and hears recordings from his grandfather, Professor Benjamin, an ancient history professor. The Necronomicon, Book of the Dead, is mentioned as a danger by Benjamin. It is an old book of prophecy and resurrection of demons, discovered by an organization called the Circle of the Wise Men. They disregarded Benjamin's warnings and read some passages anyway, and demons were let loose on the world. Benjamin found an object of great power that could send those demons back to hell and has hidden it with a hex that will keep it safe. If this hex is not sealed, the demons will feel it and will make their way for it. While listening to the tape, Joseph takes lots of notes. Just then, his pen slips from his hand and rolls towards the old wall. When he rips off the wood, he finds a mysterious bundle. Joseph takes some scissors and looks at the object inside in amazement. In the meantime, Leo and Jared are fishing in a lake. When Leo gets a call from his girlfriend, he goes to the woods to talk in private. Jared continues to fish when suddenly something starts to tug both poles. While Jared is trying to reel in the catch, Leo's pole is pulled into the water. It's the stinking head of a scalped woman, to his horror. While Jared is calling out for Leo, he accidentally lets go of the pole, and it falls into the lake. The fishing lines pop up and wrap themselves around Jared's face and neck, bringing him down as they choke him. The hooks start to tug at his skin and begin to tear it apart as they pull him into the water. When Leo comes back, he sees Jared in the lake asking for help, so he quickly gets on a boat. Jared has disappeared by the time Leo makes it to that spot, but soon he reappears and clings to Leo as he continues to beg for help. Blood dyes, the water red, and soon Jared's face is obliterated. When Leo finally pulls him out of the lake, Jared's lower body is missing. Leo throws up and sees a woman looking at him before he goes underwater. A frightened Leo is unable to start the boat and the woman capsizes it, causing Leo to fall. Eventually, Leo is able to come up for air, but the woman is standing on the boat. As she moves her hands, the water begins to boil, and Leo starts to scream in pain, his body burning as dozens of dead fish float around him, with blisters all over their skin. Leo manages to get to the shore and collapses. The woman passes him and crosses the woods to a road where she stands still until nightfall. After a while, a car comes by and the woman gets out, so she's run down. In a nightclub, Joseph is celebrating his birthday with his brother William, his girlfriend, Thea, and Will's wife Alice. They enjoy themselves at first, but when William scolds Alice for drinking, things get tense. Then, he gives Joseph an expensive pen, saying it's a gift from both him and his wife. However, Alice didn't know about this and brought her own gift, which is a beautiful picture she took of Joseph and Thea. This annoys William, and another argument ensues. Alice becomes irritated, and she goes outside to smoke. She ends up friendly chatting with one of the employees. So, when William comes out, he accuses her of talking bad about him to her staff. He asks her to come back and she refuses, so he grabs her arm to try to drag her. He is immediately shoved out of the way, and they begin arguing again. William smashes his car window in frustration, but injures his hand, but he blames it on her. Alice throws one last insult before walking away in tears. Then Joseph offers to drive William home, as he is drunk, but William refuses and drives off in his car. He is driving so fast that he does not see the woman when he arrives by the road by the woods and hits her. The car rolls down the hill and ends up upside down, trapping William. He hears the woman groaning in pain and attempts to call 911, but accidentally drops the phone. Suddenly the woman calls his name, and as her head slowly separates from her body, a creepy voice asks him to take her to his family before the head falls off and rolls out of the car. The head starts chanting a spell that extinguishes the lights and tightens the seatbelt around William, before setting the car on fire. The windows explode while William tries to escape to no avail. Then, the head laughs as the fire grows and kills William. Sometime later, the family holds a small service to say goodbye to William, and his mother, Susan, says a few words. Alice is asked if she wants to say something too, but she explains she didn't prepare anything, and William's parents judge her. William's father, Edgar, requests the employee to allow him to spend 5 minutes with his son when the casket is removed for cremation. When he is left alone, Edgar begins to cry and is unable to speak. Suddenly, he hears a sound inside the coffin, and the lid trembles. Edgar takes one of the metal hooks and slams the lid with it over and over until he makes a hole. A charred black hand grabs Edgar's wrist, burning him. Edgar steps back and sees William's burnt body standing up in amazement. The employee returns, and William goes to kill him. Edgar is frantically honking the horn horn, trying to get the group to get out of there, but he doesn't tell them what happened minutes later. At the old family home, Susan discovers that Joseph still has all of Benjamin's things and that he's planning to write a book about his research. She angrily begins throwing the things in a trash bag, saying that her father was in a cult and wasn't a good man because he spent more time with the wise men than with his family. Then Susan's sister fell ill and Benjamin finally departed them for good, saying he must find a way to save them from evil. Susan had to take care of the family and will never forgive him. Joseph goes down to the basement, and he sees Thea and Alice trying to get Grandma Polly on the chairlift. Polly slaps Alice and accuses Thea of being a thief. She is only at ease when Susan is present, but she still glares at all the others. Afterward, Joseph takes out the bag with Benjamin's things and hears Edgar coughing really badly. He can't get the brush trimmer to start, and Joseph tells him that it's out of gas. So Edgar snaps and runs to the basement. While looking for gas, Edgar is shocked to hear William's voice asking for help. He tries to open the door to find out what's going on, and the door shuts and the lamp explodes. As Edgar hears creepy voices asking him to let them in, he pulls out a knife. Failing to ignore them, Edgar's hand is forced to move the knife for self-deon. Alice goes into the basement at that time and hears a noise, so she opens the door just as she can get the knife out of Edgar's hand. Alice then slips the knife into her pocket and Edgar tells her not to tell Susan. At lunchtime, Joseph shows a video of William and Alice's wedding. Alice makes sure to keep knives away from Edgar, who continues to cough. When Susan asks what will happen to William's club, Alice says she is thinking of moving back to her hometown in France. Things get tense. Edgar realizes that Alice is not wearing her wedding ring, and she explains, but he snaps when the dog keeps asking him for food. Then Edgar has disgusting manners while eating and spits his food on the plate. As he blames Joseph for William's death, he gets angrier, saying he did not prevent him from getting in the car. Edgar believes the family is happy William is dead, and that he went to hell. When the dog whines again, Edgar repeatedly stabs him in the head with a fork. Joseph runs to try to save his father, but Edgar breaks a bottle on his head. Then Edgar collapses and begs for help as his body shakes. Thea and Joseph put Edgar in their car and leave for the hospital. Joseph has a first aid kit and starts taking care of his father's wound. In the middle of the road, Edgar becomes possessed and his eyes begin to glow. Suddenly, he takes the scissors from the kid and starts slashing Thea's face. Joseph attempts to stop him, but Edgar pushes him back and Thea loses control of the car. The car goes off the road and crashes. Edgar takes the keys and keeps on slashing Thea's face until Joseph ties him up using the seatbelt. Edgar, however, throws the dashboard to throw his son back, crushing his son. Just before Thea is about to get out, Edgar slams the door on her hand, cutting off her fingers. Then Joseph attempts to stop his father again, but Edgar pushes him through the ceiling window, and the glass breaks all over them. The airbag is triggered when Joseph collapses, and the two men are thrown back. Edgar quickly recovers and starts choking Thea with the seatbelt, so Joseph pulls out the gun that he has in the glove box. He directs it at his father's face and asks him to release Thea, but Edgar just presses his face against it, saying to him to do it. As they are driving, Thea discovers the extinguisher under the seat and fills the car with fog. While Joseph fights his father again, Fear tries to open the door to no avail. Then Joseph decides to flee through the broken ceiling, while Edgar pulls out the headrest from the seat, hits her a few times, and then stabs her in the face and neck. Back in the house, Alice and Susan bury the dog. Then Alice takes the shovel back to the shed and accidentally drops it on the bag with Benjamin's research, causing the things to fall out. When she picks everything up, she reads Benjamin's notes, but can't understand them. She also reads a spell, without knowing what, which brings the dog back to life. He jumps through the window and attacks Alice, who grabs a pair of shears to stab him. Then, Alice comes into the house, but Susan doesn't understand her since she is speaking French. Joseph then comes back and tells them that Edgar killed Thea. Then, someone knocks and Joseph is surprised to hear the voice of Thea. Alice opens the door and Thea comes inside with yellow eyes and the headrest still stuck in her face. Thea takes off the headrest, picks up a candle and toasts to the ideal family before consuming the melted wax. Then Thea attacks Susan and Alice and Joseph have to pull her back. After lots of struggle, they manage to throw her in the basement. With a sweet voice, Fear calls Joseph's name and he falls for it, but Alice pulls him out of the basement and locks the door. Susan, Alice, Joseph and Polly run out of the house and find Edgar. He whistles to call the dog and pulls out a gun, saying that Joseph should be dead and not William. Then Edgar fires the gun at Self-D, but he's still alive. He fires several more rounds and holes start to appear in his head, but he's still alive. In the basement, Thea turns up the heat by turning on the old furnace with her new demonic powers. The rest of the family are returning inside and blocking the doors so that Edgar can't follow them. When Alice looks out the window, Edgar waves at her. Joseph Joseph checks his phone, but there's no signal. Polly is left alone in her wheelchair and hears someone pounding on the basement door. Polly approaches the hole in the wood and discovers that Thea is asking for help. So, she opens the door. The others hear Polly crying out and go to see what is wrong with her, and they find her on the floor. Alice and Joseph notice some blood on the floor and go to investigate to find Thea in the living room pouring gasoline on the fireplace. Her creepy voice promises to kill the wise men. While Susan takes Polly upstairs, Joseph grabs a lamp and gets ready to attack, but Thea is gone. Then blood splatters on Alice's face and they look up to see Thea on the ceiling. She jumps down to attack Alice and they begin to fight on the ground. Alice asks Joseph for help, but he's frozen in fear. Susan comes back to try to drag Joseph away, but Thea is obstructing the stairs and claims that Joseph has something she needs. She grabs them both and brings Joseph down before smashing Susan on a mirror in the wall, tossing her through the resulting hole. Then Thea throws Joseph against the shelves and kicks him while asking for what she's looking for. Joseph manages to run to the kitchen and grab an electric knife. Thea is close enough to startle him and he falls on a tray of knives and forks. Joseph stabs her neck with a corkscrew as she pushes him down to put the cutlery into his back. When Thea takes it out, her neck is cut open. She calls him out for being unable to kill his father, but not hesitating to attack her. Polly calls Thea at that time, saying she has what she wants. Thea rushes upstairs only to discover that Polly still thinks she's a thief and is offering her money. She licks Polly's dentures and places them back on. Then, she notices that Polly's fake leg is missing. Alice then kicks Thea in the head, causing her to roll down the stairs. After landing, Joseph repeatedly slams her face with the dishwasher door until her head is a mush. Alice recalls William's abuse when she sees Joseph so violent. Then, Alice asks Joseph about the weird things she read in Benjamin's notebook. Joseph tells us that his grandfather was thought to be unstable because he believed that devils could come to this world if someone read from the Necronomicon. He left the family to go around the world and gather artifacts that would save his family from the devils. Since the demon in Thea was looking for something, one of the many objects in the attic must really work. Susan puts Polly to bed while she is doing it. As she's about to depart, Polly sits up and calls her by her name for the first time in years. Susan comes closer and sees her mother stand up on the bed with the bed sheet covering her. She hugs Polly as she cries, saying how much she misses her. William is on his way and Polly says that the whole family will be reunited soon. Then Susan takes the bed sheet away and finds out that Polly is possessed too. One day when someone knocks on the window, Susan pushes the curtains and finds Edgar, who tells her that he misses her. Susan opens the window and Edgar crawls in to kiss her, which possesses her as well. Alice looks out and sees Edgar has gone downstairs and is surprised by the dog barking at her. Then Susan shows up and tells the demons that they're not their enemies. They only want the Condorian dagger that Benjamin stole from them. Suddenly all the lights go off and Edgar begins beating Joseph and the TV continues playing the wedding video. After knocking Joseph up, Edgar attacks Alice, telling her to stay out of family matters. Susan calls out Edgar because he said he wouldn't hurt their son. So, Edgar hits her with a candelabra. Then, Edgar grabs Joseph by his hair and pushes his face into Thea's open head. Joseph tells him that he knows where the dagger is so that Edgar can pull him up. Then he stabs his father with a pen. They begin to argue everywhere in the house and Susan attempts to shield her son, so Edgar attacks Susan as well. Alice tries to avoid the chaos as she crawls out of the room and hides in the closet. She hears the violence going on around the house until Edgar slams Joseph's head on the closet door. As Joseph is pushed through the wood, it breaks and he tells Alice to look for the dagger before Edgar drags him away. When she hears no more sounds, Alice comes out and fills the trimmer with gas so she can have a weapon. She then climbs up and discovers that Susan is bleeding on the floor. She's also distracted by a wedding picture. At that time, Polly attacks her and breaks her head on anything she can. After a few hits, Polly pushes Alice's face against the trimmer's blade and stabs her ear with a pen. Polly wants Susan to do the kill, but as she's about to press the button on the trimmer, Alice snatches a glass shard and stabs Polly in the eye. Then, she ties her to the chairlift and activates it. So, Polly is dragged downstairs. Alice pulls the pin out of her ear and prepares to kill Polly with a knife she took earlier, but is startled by Edgar and Joseph crashing through the ceiling. Alice takes the trimmer and Edgar, Susan, and drags them to the bathroom. She then pushes a cabinet against the door and then picks up a hairdryer and ties Susan to the toilet. Alice has a piece of pin in her ear. She takes it out with tweezers. Susan continues to gripe about Alice's family. Finally, Alice snaps and tells him that it's always been in her family, as she reveals the scars that William's abuse has left on her body. While Alice uses the trimmer to try to make a hole in the ceiling, Susan succumbs to the possession and attacks her. They repeatedly hit each other before they land in the tub, where Susan uses the curtains to start suffocating Alice. She can climb up on the ceiling and leave Alice hanging upside down by her head due to her demonic power. Alice manages to get hold of a razor and cut Susan's face until she drops it. Then Alice retrieves the trimmer and turns it on to cut Susan a few times to bring her down. Now Alice can go through the hole in the ceiling to access the attic, where she begins to look for the dagger. She can hear Joseph's voice offering his help, but she ignores him. So Joseph goes up into the attic and he says, "Yes, I have been possessed." Alice discovers a bag of old artifacts and takes out the first dagger she finds and stabs Joseph with it, but it has no effect. Joseph teases her, but Alice continues to try dagger after dagger until she gets it right. Joseph's eyes turn to normal before he drops dead. Alice peers down at his body and Susan is in the hole, so Alice takes the trimmer and climbs out the window. Sadly, she stumbles and falls down, dropping the dagger. Alice runs into the chimney and slips down it as Susan and Edgar follow her. Soon Susan comes in through the chimney as well, and Alice attacks her with the trimmer until Susan's head hits the fireplace. Alice goes back to the living room through the fireplace and Edgar follows her. When she attacks him, he blocks the blade, but Alice continues to push until she cuts his head open. Next, she pulls out a lighter and throws it on the carpet to start a fire. The flames spread and Alice goes outside and seizes the dagger and stabs the dog coming at her, killing him. The house slowly burns down and all the bodies and wedding pictures are destroyed. Alice believes it's over, but she is shocked to hear William's voice. His charred body comes out of the house, saying he should have killed her. When he reaches the gazebo where they got married, he sets it on fire. Alice runs as fast as possible and makes it to a construction site. The office is locked, but looking around reveals a walkie-talkie that she uses to try to call for help. The machine starts to play her wedding song and Alice can see William's shadow coming closer, but he vanishes at the end of the song. One day, Alice is pulled by her leg and thrown into a pit, her ankle stuck on a steel rod. William throws a hose into the pit as well, to begin filling the pit with hot tar. Alice painfully pulls her leg off and tries to escape, but William blocks her. When he asks for the dagger, Alice throws it in the tar. William releases her and goes to get it, and Alice pulls some cables to drop a jackhammer. While William is taking the dagger, Alice stabs him with a jackhammer and turns it on, slowly destroying his body until the pieces sink in the tar. Then Alice attempts to get away, but William grabs her leg once more. Luckily, she manages to grab the dagger and stab him with it. Alice has a vision of the real William telling her that he loves her, as he dies for good. But, she says, that's not enough, and she comes back to reality and crushes his head without mercy. Alice then gets out of the pit and is discovered by paramedics on a road. They ask her what happened to her and she only says, "My ex-husband." Polly is crawling on the road in the meantime. If a concerned driver checks on her, Polly attacks him. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Leave a comment about your favorite movie and we will make it next. Thanks for watching.